Did we? Oh, hey, there we are. Hi. What is happening? Just a moment. Let's see. Okay, here we go. We gotta go do this. Go on. What is happening? Live and direct. It's your girl, Michelle M. Trey Hollis in his house. Um, well, breaking news. I just dropped my phone in the pool. um, Today's June 1st. I hope everybody is having an enjoyable time. But I uh, just dropped my phone in the pool, and I thought, you know what? This is actually a fantastic time to come live and talk. Here's what's sad about that. The reason that I'm coming online on my computer to talk live is because I dropped my phone in the pool. This is ironic because I spend a lot of time on the phone. But here's what I promised myself this, committed myself to for this coming week is to go deeper, and not just any deeper, not really with content creation, because really I'm not a content creator. I'm just not. I like to believe that I'm an influencer because I know that I influence and inspire a lot of people. People tell me that. I get DMs about it. I see people out there inspired, and and I'm happy about that. And I do want to be an influencer, but I don't just want to be an influencer for influencer's sake. You know, let me finish my thought. My first thought is the reason that this is important is because I decided that this week I'm going deeper into understanding and mapping out the caregiver, or the discharge space for patients who are being discharged from the hospital or who are navigating an illness, and need support, not just for that patient, but also for their caregiver. This is going to require me to actually speak to the proper contacts of any medical hospital system or any type of liaison or engagement officer, or all of the things in the hospital setting to help people navigate that. Here's why this is all important, and why you have to understand that sometimes things is God's plan. First of all, I would have never came to the internet right now to even talk to you about this if my phone hadn't dropped in the pool. I would have waited to be perfect, etc. But I guess my addiction to to social media is so hardcore that I was like, you know what, let me go and make a video. But it's not just that. The reason I also did that is because it's kind of like an alert to people, like letting people know, hey, like if you try to reach me, if you try to text me, or call me, that's not going to be the most effective way to get in touch with me, especially for this week. And here's why: because I don't think I'm turning the phone back on for a while. Just the fact that I sat down here to do this, knowing that the likelihood of me doing this would have probably been slim to none, is already, number one, letting me know that this needed to happen. And so you get to understand that things happen, and it's all God's plan. Like, it's a hard pill to swallow, and it doesn't sound fair. I can honestly say it's not fair. I'm not even gonna hold you. Because I've seen the things that people have been through. I've been through a lot without the proper resources in my life. Other people have been through a lot and worse than I have. You may have been through a lot. Life is not fair. And as soon as we go ahead and just swallow that pill, then we can get to appreciating what we can figure out how to appreciate, which is an incredibly important thing to do in this life. So while I was doing Changemakers, which was a Changemakers 2026 Borderland Women in the Arts, which was a collaboration with Progress 321 and El Paso Matters, and celebrating women in the arts. And we honored 28 women who are change makers from the arts. And that was a very intense time for me. I'm gonna give you some backstory. Last year, here in El Paso, I had gotten hired by a family friend, and I worked for their home healthcare agency for almost a year. And then just due to market situations, and unfortunately, they had to downsize, and they've downsized pretty significantly since then. But I'm so grateful for that experience that I got, and to get back into healthcare, because I was working at Lola Rose before that. And I was a shift lead and working with Carlos, who I love. Shout out to Carlos. And I was working at Lola Rose, and then I ended up, again, getting invited to be a community liaison in a home healthcare agency. I would have never thought medical. And I don't know why, because that's so where my passion lies. Like, I love, and let me say this, because this is also true. I love the idea of being with people in their toughest moments. I used to love the idea of it. But until I went through it over and over and over again with friends, I had a friend with ALS that I spent time with in the beginning stages of her deterioration. It was an absolute nightmare. And honestly, I physically, emotionally, I could not handle it. And I'm coming on here just to be honest about that, because I think we get to be honest. We get to be honest that life is not all sunshine and rainbows. Now, she had a tremendous support system, and she had a tremendous friend system, family support system, and it still was difficult for them. I know it was. Obviously it was, but I mean, just even coordinating her care. And I realized that, and I'm getting to a point here, but I'm just having a conversation also. I want whoever watches this to really know who I am and where I'm coming from. And like that, I truly believe that there's a problem that I can help solve. And to me, that's very important. And it's these are exactly the people that I want to help solve this problem, which is caregiving. Because most people that who are called on to be the caregiver in their family or friend group or et cetera, they are the most compassionate, the most dynamic of the group. Maybe they're single like I was. I was single, or, I didn't have kids. So it made it easy for, my guilt and shame made me feel like I had, that, hey, in every family situation, well, I don't have kids, so I'm that person for my family. So people don't really realize that sometimes you don't not have kids because you just don't care. You just don't want kids. It's because you've been the sacrificial lamb for your family and friend group. You've been, and I use that word very intentionally, what am I trying to say? I use that word very sensationally intentionally, because honestly, that's how I felt. And that's how I didn't realize though, that was how I felt. And so sometimes these things happen like, all right, okay, wait. So I was saying in Changemaker, during Changemakers, a lot was going on. I had a lot. So I left my, or let's see, we left last July, 2025. And because I didn't know what to do with myself, and I'm like, okay, let me take this time and go to school. That's what I decided to do. Not let go in July 2025. Hey, I can register and be in school by August, which is exactly what I did. I took full time, 5 credits I got, or 5 courses I took, and moved my career, my knowledge forward in terms of media advertising. Okay. And in that span of time, not only did I do that, I did a whole lot of other stuff too, because honestly, I've lived my whole life doing too much. And that became abundantly clear, not only during school, which, by the way, I got a 3.75, I think. So, I worked hard while also doing events. I did the One Region, One Table, and then I got asked to be the co-chair for Changemakers. And so fast forward to the beginning of 2026, and I got stuff going on. I had several job opportunities that I thought, were going to be created and go somewhere that didn't. Everything happens for a reason. And then my car gets totaled. It was by no fault of my own. Okay. This is what we're going to. Accidents and God's plan. So like today, I'm tying it into the pool situation. I dropped my phone in the pool today, June 1st, 2026. And I can only see it as God's plan, because God has a way of showing you exactly what is up. And it's the communication that you have with the Most High is going to be in your own way. Your spiritual growth and enlightenment is going to look like yours. So that's why I say all praise is due to the Most High, because the Most High is the Most High across religions. I just don't believe in religion. I don't. I mean, in terms of, I believe that it's like language. However you practice, as long as the practice is pure, it's going to lead you where you need to go for your sovereign life experience. That's how I feel. And so my car got totaled. I had some family have some health issues that were scary. All these things are happening. I'm also, working with Roger Argenis with artist development. So I'm trying to figure out my music, trying to figure out what to do in my life. Not, I did apply for a lot of jobs last year because I had to, because I was on unemployment while I was going to school after I got laid off, because, everything was amicable. But I just realized, I want to do what I am going in the direction that God is leading me. That is the bottom line. And when you begin to actually trust God's plan, you begin to realize that everything that happens, oh Lord, hold on. Hold on. Sorry, hold on. Okay. You begin to realize, oh gosh, sorry. Pardon me, folks. Okay, there we go. My bad. Okay, you begin to realize that everything that happens is an opportunity to learn. I won't even say that everything happens for a reason, because I think that that is kind of trite. I think that that's a little short. That's a short change, changing of the opportunity. Because I think if we just say, well, everything happens for a reason, then what that does for you is it makes you just go, I guess I deserved it, or oh, it's probably because this happened. No, rather than just say everything happens for a reason, it's better to say, what is this teaching me? What can I learn from this? What can I learn from this? That is the question to ask. Because then there's no blame that has to be involved. It's just an acknowledgement and awareness. And I think that that's super important. And so my car got totaled. I had just gotten the car. I literally had just gotten the car a week before I got let go. And then my car got totaled when I started my new job at Pelicans. Okay. And I'm literally in no rush. So this is going to be kind of a long one. So if you're like a real one, if you're really rocking with me like that and you want to kind of know what's going on in my mind, this is the video for you to be watching. I should have said that at first, but I mean, you'll get there if you're here. So it's so interesting. So when my car got totaled, and I'm devastated. I don't want to say I'm devastated. I'm actually surprised that I was not devastated, but also I know that I had a lot going on. I had just started a new job. I was still, working on the very many moving parts for Changemakers. Still trying to figure out my life, and to me, that was God's way of reminding me, like, yo, chill. You need to slow down. You need to slow down. That's what God was saying to me there. You need to slow down and stop spreading yourself so thin. You need to focus on you and what you are here to do from now on. And that gets to be your first priority, Michelle. That's what that whole situation was for me. And so there wasn't any, because I'm really not attached to material things. That's what that showed me. Like, I wasn't that attached to. I'm so glad, because I was grateful because my mom had a car that I could use, and I help her, to get around because she really can't drive anymore anyways. And so it just all worked out, and it worked out for now. That's the important part. Because a lot of times we're so short-sighted that we may not recognize our blessings, and we may not recognize that the blessing that we have is that we're healthy and safe right now, and we better take advantage of the opportunity to build and create to build and create from and contribute to society and to our community in a way that makes us proud, that only we can do, in a way that only we can do. And that's what that taught me. And so fast forward, Changemakers is a smash success. So super grateful for that experience. And so I said, okay, so now I'm not volunteering. I don't volunteer. I'm not volunteering the whole rest of this year, because what a lot of people also don't realize and don't take into account is that when you now I am an organizer with 1 Million Cups, and I love that. And that is my connection to the entrepreneurship community. That is my like what do you call it? That's my social time, if you will, outside of talking to healthcare professionals and really helping figure out how what systems are currently being used and can be used better to create better communities and networks for patients and caregivers. That's my main goal, because I know that the type of people that are caregivers, they're the ones that really care, and they deserve to understand the impact of what they're doing. Like, I've been basically a caregiver since I was in my early 20s. I've had a caregiver responsibility to some degree since my early 20s. And I wouldn't have known that's what that was called. I literally didn't know till I worked for the home health care agency. So that's why everything happens for a reason. Because now I'm like, man, if I would have only understood like what I was actually doing, why it was important, and how it was taking a toll on me every time that I was bringing myself, and it was my, making myself responsible and having the honor and taking the honor, because it was honorable, like two things are true at the same time. Just because you can and want to be there for someone doesn't mean that you don't have to be replenishing yourself very intentionally through the process. And that's what I had to learn. I didn't learn that until I did this caregiving job, and I realized like, oh, I've literally been doing that and been like the responsible one, and from my nuclear family and so on and so forth for damn near my entire life. But mainly, I say that, but my entire adult life is what I should really say. And that's a lot of responsibility. And so I want to create spaces for people, young people, and young and old, because it never goes away. Unfortunately, my father passed away. My grandmother passed away. But I have, life goes on, and then I have other family and friends that could come into that situation. And honestly, I want to be the type of person that has the resources, the intelligence, the money, the time, the creativity. I want to be the joyful person that my friends and family can call on. There's nothing wrong with that. Why wouldn't you want to be that person? I would rather aim to be that person that has the financial stability, flexibility. I'd rather want to be able to do that and do it in joy. I'm not saying I just want to, run around and just sit with people in their worst, medical moment. But at the same time, if I can bring joy to the situation, I would do that more often than I would not. I would love to be able to have like a Make-A-Wish Foundation, or something like that, to where, see, this is great. I never even thought about that. And I'm so glad I'm saying this out loud, because this is the type of dreaming I like to do, y'all. I want to have a fund, like to where, a $1 million fund where we can just go and grant people their wishes. They want to go to Coachella, or they want to go to, New York, or they want to go to Egypt or the Rock of Gibraltar. They've been diagnosed with a terminal illness. And shouldn't just be kids. Why can't everyone have that chance? I definitely want to at least do it be able to do that for people that I know and love. And I definitely want to be able to do it for me, should the situation come up. Like some of us are not long-term thinking enough for me. I wasn't long enough thinking for me. I still think I'm going to die sometimes. Last night I had a headache. Yeah, and I had a headache last night. And I don't like headaches, man. I don't get them often. But when I do, I'm like, I'm surely about to die. I definitely drink more water because I'm like, okay, maybe I'm dehydrated. But I'm like, is this what it feels like? My mind has always, since I was young, went to the worst case scenario in health. And it didn't stop me from doing drugs and alcohol a lot. But I realized that the reason I did is because I wanted to numb how much I feel. And I realized my feeling is my superpower, and I don't want to not feel. And I'm great with feeling. And if I'm around people that don't want me to be the hype person I am, I don't want to be around you. Because you go be a curmudgeon over there. You know what I mean? Go be boring and lame and tired over there. Like, if I'm stepping out, I'm doing so with excitement and encouragement. If I'm not, then I'm not stepping out. I'm not coming over anywhere to be cool and look cool. I'm coming to make something happen for people. That's my energy. You know what I mean? And so just to wrap this part up, accidents in God's plan. I was able to turn that into 26 minutes of talking, you guys. I can yap with the best of them. But so my car got totaled. Whatever, I kept moving. I was actually proud of myself for how I did not break down. But then, literally a month ago, why did someone hit my mom's car's bumper while I was driving? Couldn't believe it. They paid for it. It wasn't like it cracked, but it wasn't like horrible. So they paid for it. A1 Body Shop, y'all are real ones. Yo, they are dope. They really, really, really did great work. They did great work. They had A1 Body Shop on Montana. They did great work. They have a connection with Casa Nissan, and I was able to get a rental car for $40 a day flat. And my person, the person again that hit me, they paid for it and everything. So it was fine. But it also, of course, when it happened, I was like, damn, like, what is going on? Like, what am I attracting? But I also know that just means that that things are that just means that, first of all, it's life, it happens. And second of all, you just handle it and you move on. That's what you do. You know what I mean? You just handle and move on. That's all you can do. But it wasn't an opportune time. So yeah, and things are going to fall through the cracks some. And that is why you can't spread yourself too thin. Just because I'm available on a date, like on a specific date, like, okay, I don't have anything scheduled that day. But every time you commit to doing something, there is layers and layers of administrative work, of communications. There's different moving parts and different people and bureaucracies. And I don't have time for that. I don't have time for that in this season. And that's beautiful for me to recognize. But just because you're available on a certain date doesn't mean that you have the bandwidth necessarily to be involved in all the ways that people expect you to be involved. And I had to realize that I don't, and I don't want to do that because I have my own mission to be focused in on. And that's fine. And I'm okay with that. But these are things that you have to realize. And so that accident, the one where someone hit my mom's car as I was driving, that accident was God reminding me not to spread myself too thin. That's a longer, deeper story, but that was a reminder of like, because what I was thinking about right then, God said, nope. And that's so interesting. And you can only know this, and you will only know this if you do the work to spend time with your inner self and with God and the Most High. And you have to be of sound mind, body, spirit, soul, and money. You can't, under the influence, you're going to make bad decisions. And what I had to realize was that a lot of the things that I would agree to do, and it's not so black and white either, because when you're getting started, you should do a lot. When you're just putting yourself back out there, and especially if you don't know what you're going to do with the rest of your life, like the position I was in, when you're in that position, you've got to get out there and get your feet wet and figure it out. Like if I would have just said, I don't want to work at a home health care agency. No, thank you. Just because I'd never done it before, and because whatever, I wouldn't have found it, how fulfilling it was, and how I really like being in the medical field and working with medical practitioners and helping patients and stuff. I think it's a very rewarding work. Even though that was not anything in my mind, I'm glad I took that direction, that door that God opened up, and I'm like that, I'm like that. I'm one of those people who are very open to the possibilities, and I'm going to give my all. But I also realized that in my unhealthy, toxic, empathy, with my toxic traits and my low, self-worth and value, I've always had high self-esteem, but I didn't feel worthy because of the things that I've went through, and I needed to heal that. And so I realized that I was overextending myself so I could feel better. Even after I got let go last year, I was overcommitting to things because I felt, because that was a blow. I mean, it's a blow to your ego when you get let go, even if it's not your fault, even if they tell, they let there's no bad blood. They feel bad. It's just business. And you understand that it's still a blow to the ego. That's just real talk. And so having to get to that place of understanding, and having the opportunity to do that this year. And I do think that my car getting hit at that point, at the moment it did, my mom's car then getting hit just a month ago. And wouldn't you know, it wasn't even a month ago, it was like a few weeks ago. And wouldn't you know that I had just picked up my mom's car, freshly done at A1 Auto Body Shop. They were incredible. And I get home from work, pull in, and what do you know, that my sister's car is completely smashed in the front driver's side. Somebody hit her and it wasn't her fault. I am like, what is happening? Hold on. Sorry, that was gross. I'm still getting over it. And on top of that, I had like a sinus infection, allergy driven. And so I'm still working through that. But when you begin to understand that these things are telling you something, like I could have broken down, felt, oh my God, what is it? Why is this happening to me? I could have went all that place, but instead I'm like, oh, I get it. Thank you, God. Okay. I see what you're saying, God. And then you take advantage of the blessing that you have to have your own space. And then and it's also an opportunity a lot of times to recognize the blessings that you have, the love you're surrounded with, and not to take it for granted, and to understand that, for me, and I think a lot of people that probably watch me, you realize that you're the only one who's going to have your back in the end. Like, you recognize the blessing of who you have in your life and who has your back, but you realize that support system is, on a real level, extremely tiny. And that's life. I mean, as long as I can take care of myself, I feel like I could get a lot of support. But If I was in a situation where I needed a caregiver, fuck. Pardon my language. I'm sorry. I had to say it though. So I'm like, I have a lot of work to do to make sure that when I need someone, I have done what I needed to do to make sure that I have that covering. That's very important. And a lot of us are not thinking long-term enough, you know, and I'm just now there and I'm just happy to be here. There's no right or wrong time to get here. And that's what I want to tell all y'all. That's why I'm showing you this whole process of mine, because I'm literally 44 years old and I'm just now really understanding a lot of these things. I've had a lot of blessings. I've had a lot of success in different ways, but I never was able to plant my feet on solid ground and really be grounded and rooted because of generational trauma and curses, to be honest. And because, you know, those things weighed on me, being a caregiver and being that person mentally and emotionally and spiritually in ways that I didn't understand. But I went on the dark night of the soul journey, and that was one hell of a time, bro. Woo! But when you are a chosen one, and when I say a chosen one, you know, people get what being a chosen one is very wrong. At least from what I understand. If you're one of God's chosen ones, people are like, you're God's chosen ones because God don't play about me. I'm like, if you're God's chosen one, it's because you got work to do. Don't get it twisted. Do not get that twisted. If you just think you're God's chosen one because you're just to be cute, you have missed the plot. That's not what it's about. Just because you're so divine, no. If you're God's chosen one and you answer the call from God as a chosen one, it's because you're here to help guide people and lead humanity to a better place. It's a responsibility. It's not a flex like you think it is. It is a flex, but not like you think it is. And I need people to really understand that. And so there's a gift in understanding that, though. Because once you understand that, you realize that your only job is to heal yourself. Because how you already feel and how you already desire to show up is already there. You just get to unprogram and unlearn and unpack and unveil and unburden yourself with everything you thought was how it was supposed to look and what you were supposed to do. And the expectations of others. And what you think other people want from you. All those things get to go. And that is a process. And I also believe that as chosen ones, we're supposed to also guide the next generation. And I feel like as an exennial, is that how you say it? I don't know. As an exennial, we are uniquely, if you're an exennial, we are uniquely qualified and prepared and responsible for helping guide the next generation of leaders, man. Everybody wants to be the leader, but nobody wants to actually lead. You know that's true. You know that's true. You know that's true. You know it. Huh. Anyway, and so your life is going to look different than everybody else's. My life has looked very different than most people's. And I'm totally okay with that. More and more each day. That's why it's Monday and I'm swimming. Like, dude, I've lived back with my mom in the house, my house that has a pool, for the past 4 or 5 years. Do you know that I've swam more in the past month than I have the entire time I've lived here? Because I was trying to improve myself and overcome my addiction. And I needed to do all those things. And that's what's so tricky about life. because I needed to overextend myself. And I mean, it's easy for me to say now, like, I didn't need to do that. But we need community. And we, as humans, we need community. And we need a big, as an addict, you need a purpose bigger than yourself to finally quit abusing drugs and alcohol. Like, you need a reason bigger than yourself. That I know to be true. And so me coming out there, committing to things, that was helping me to pull myself out of the dungeon and the darkness and the isolation that I had created around my addiction. And it took a lot longer than I thought it would to rid myself of those things. And now I'm not in isolation, but I am in solitude, and it's different. I'm not hiding, but I'm choosing to be intentional about my time. And it you know, I'm not going to lie to you and say that the healing process is quick. That's a facade. It's a lie. I've never seen anybody do it overnight. You have breakthroughs, but I always used to say, even from the beginning, and it's funny because I didn't know how real it was. Like, it's so interesting when you're going through your healing journey, because you don't realize like how deep your breakthroughs are, even until later and later and later in life. You realize, because I would say, when I was young in my transformation and my healing journey, I would say there's always another breakthrough to go. And I'm thinking financial, because that was what I wanted. But I realized that if I would have had a financial breakthrough, I would have plunged, because I wasn't ready for that type of responsibility, to be responsible with that, with a lot of money, with leadership. And that's why I didn't jump into it. And that's why it's taken me longer, because I had some deep, deep, deep rooted stuff to heal. So I'm glad that I took that time. But if you had told me it was going to take that long, I don't know that I would have ever tried. But that's what they all say when it comes to building things, or healing or success, creating a successful life. And so that's the beauty of being online, is that you get to, what I've been into more now than ever are autobiographies, because I've done all the healing modalities. I mean, I've done them all, but I've done quite a bit of them, and I've taken the time. I've done the DMT, I've done the plant medicine, this past week, I'll tell you what was very helpful for me. This past week, I read Hallelujah Scriptures. I read a chapter a day of Proverbs in May. Hallelujah Scriptures is the canonized version. It's what they call the Holy Bible, which is the canonized version of the Scriptures, because there were more Scriptures found than just the ones that are in what we know as the Holy Bible, like the King James Version, etc. So this is a version that's closer to Hebrew than the other versions. Shout out to Shy, my former hairdresser. Man, I love her so much, and I miss her incredibly. But she gave me this. And I want you to know I've been putting it to good use, my good sister. Like, what were the odds that I would have a hairdresser who started into a deep spiritual journey at the same time as, like, a little bit after we met? That's God's plan. Anyway, I read a chapter a day of Proverbs in May. If you want to watch it, you can go to 5-Star Conversations in the Sun City. You can go to the playlist Proverbs as a Practice. I kind of used a play on words of software as a service, SaaS, but I do Proverbs as a Practice. So it's PAP. And it's a technology, man, because I'm telling you, the insights that I got from that were incredible. Incredible. Shows you how to lead. I'm gonna share with you a couple of my favorite verses too. Let me see. What a great, I'm telling you, this was so powerful. Like, honestly, I gotta read it again because I went on YouTube and read a chapter a day, and the depth. Just this part, okay? So this is the first. This is Proverbs Mishle chapter 1, verse 1 through 6. So I tried to read verse 1 through 6 every single day before I read the actual day's chapter, right? And just listen, this is incredible. The Proverbs of Shlomo, son of David, sovereign of Yisrael, for knowing wisdom and discipline, for understanding the words of understanding. So these Proverbs, okay, are for knowing wisdom and discipline, which is something that I am really locking into, is the discipline. The discipline to use wisdom. Well, he says it right here. For understanding, that's how excited I get about it, because it's deep. So this is the Proverbs of Shlomo, son of David, sovereign of Yisrael, for knowing wisdom and discipline, for understanding the words of understanding, for receiving the discipline of wisdom, righteousness, right ruling, and straightness, for giving insight to the simple, knowledge and discretion to the young. The wise one hears and increases learning, and the understanding one gets wise counsel. For understanding a proverb and a figure, the words of the wise and their riddles. That's deep. I mean, that is powerful. And so I read one chapter of Proverbs a day in May. And the wisdom that just resonated in my spirit, like it was such an aligned reading, because it really helps you learn how to lead and how to trust yourself. It was so good. And then I realized that Proverbs, I'm going to go ahead and, I'm just going to take this time to really go in one time, because if you think about it, Proverbs, I did it as the wrong thing. Hold on. That's all right. Proverbs. If you think about it, what does verb mean? Verb is an action word. A verb is an action word. So if proverbs, this is how my mind works. Proverbs, pro-action. This is how to be proactive. This is how to proactively walk through the world and lead and make an impact. This is how you do it. Proverbs. That's what this teaches you. And what it says in Proverbs is that wisdom is a woman. Literally, like it literally says wisdom is a woman. And I'm like, duh, that should have been obvious. But I love just everything about this book is really powerful. And the way I look at the Bible, or the scriptures, is that, it's just like everything. People can use it for bad or good. But I feel like if for something to be this impactful, that it is still running the world, you can't go wrong by reading it. Like, to understand, to do religious studies and is just not a bad use of time, especially, or even if you're in finance and focused on building wealth. Like, it's actually very smart to understand if you're into politics, this is what is running our country. right now, for the good or the bad of it. It's what people are using. It's the tool people are using to explain away or to base their choices on in leadership and as far as our elected officials and governmental officials. They're, whether they really are actually doing the work of actually understanding this or not, they're using it as a tool and a weapon. So I can't imagine there's any time that it's going to not be wise to at least read it a little bit, try to figure out what they're talking about. And you don't have to, but I'm just, and honestly, you don't have to. You never have to, but not a bad idea, not a bad idea, so that you can know what people are trying to say. It's not a bad idea. I mean, I'm saying at the very least, trying to understand where they're coming from is just not a bad idea, Anyway, okay, this is getting long-winded. So let me see. Things I learned from Proverbs. So that, I'll just leave it at that, because you really should read it yourself. And I'm going to go back and I'm going to read it. I'm going to read a chapter and break it. I'm going to break it down on my Substack, I think, because my Substack will be for leadership content. So maybe I'll do that after this, because, I don't have my phone, and without my phone, the world is my oyster. Isn't that crazy? So anyways, let me see. I wrote down a couple things I just wanted to touch on, because I'm really I'm coming up with my platform, how I'm gonna actually run my show, run my ship. I'm really dropping into that intentionally too. So, I just want to shout out Project Vita. Project Vita is is the first medical healthcare provider that I reached out to when I first moved back here in 2019. And I was looking for someone to help me with my drug addiction when I moved back here and my alcohol abuse. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was on a probation thing when I moved back here, and I had to get permission to move from Ohio back here because I had a possession charge. I'm just letting it all hang out, because honestly, look who we have in the White House. My shit's sprinkle of dust. You know what I mean? I'm not going to be afraid to tell my story, because I got my records expunged and everything like that. It's because I did everything right. But when I came back here, that's why I was looking for somebody. Looking for, because I had been seeing a therapist in Ohio. And then so when I moved back here, I needed to still see that. Well, I was supposed to. Come to find out, the judge even when they finally approved me, as soon as they approved me, because I was in a really bad place up there. And I was there longer than I should have been because I was waiting for approval to get moved. And then the day I found out that I was able to move back here, I left within a week, because I knew I needed to get out of that situation. And what I do know too is that a lot of people don't have that luxury. They can't remove themselves from a toxic environment. So I'm very humbled and very compassionate to everybody's situation when it comes to changing their lifestyle and getting healthy, because environment is a lot of everything. And so, but when I moved back here, when I moved back to El Paso, I called Project Vita. I called several places. I was just trying to find somewhere where I could get a therapist, and they Project Vita was the first people who put me in touch with Jamie, who is a harm reduction specialist. She answered my call and I went to meet her, and it was great. It turned out I didn't even need in Ohio, the judge let me, like ended my probationary period or whatever. They gave me like the certification of, like, not certification. They gave me like, that my case was closed and that, I did everything that I needed to do. And it was, it was a diversion type program. And so I never got a charge because I saw the therapist kept in touch, did the things that you should do when you mess up so bad, you know what I mean? And that they require you to do so that you don't go to jail, go back to jail or catch a charge or whatever. And so, but even after that, I still kept with Jamie because Jamie is such a real one. She's just such a real human being. And I had never heard of a peer recovery specialist, a harm reduction specialist, which is somebody who has had the lived experience of drug addiction. See, when I was going to therapy in Ohio, I wasn't talking to somebody that has had that lived experience and that dedicated their life to helping others and helping light the path for others out. I was with like a standard therapist, and it really just felt like me going in there and talking and just not being able to wait until it was over. Like it just did not seem to be helping, but I had to do it for court. And so the fact that I was able to find Jamie here in El Paso, and she was a peer recovery specialist, it just was a whole different experience and so much of what I needed. So I love Project Vita for that. And Jamie's incredible. And so I'm going to be learning more about what she does and, working to get certified to be able to help others, because I know that there's a lot of people, and there's a lot of leadership people too. Like, don't get it twisted. Like, don't be out. One of the things that you really understand once you've really gone through it, and then you've also done the healing work on top of it, is that most times your bosses, your mentor, your bosses, your mentors, perhaps, people, your elected officials, a lot of these people are addicted to drugs and alcohol, bro. Don't get it twisted. When we look at El Paso, and I'm going to say some real harsh stuff right now, not harsh, but real. When you look at El Paso and you see the decisions that are happening, and this is why I realized this is why I had to go through what I went through. Because when you look at El Paso and see the decisions that are happening, you see the situations that take place through organizations and in response to the opportunities that come here and how they get disseminated and how we create or don't create opportunities. I'm trying to tell y'all, people in leadership are addicted to drugs and alcohol. People, our elected officials, are more people than you know. Do I know, like, anybody exactly? Like, could I give you names? No. But have I come across many of people that I'm like, they probably have a problem. They probably have a problem they're not addressing. That's probably why they act like this or they're doing it. Yes, that happens a lot. And it's not unique to El Paso, but this is where I live and this is my community. And I would like to see that change. And I got to be the change. I had to be the change. And I got to be the change. And now I want to encourage others to be that change too. Because one thing I do know is that when I was addicted, when I was in active addiction, I would overcommit myself to things. I would say yes to things. I would not speak up in certain times, because I felt guilt and shame. Certain decisions are made or not made because people are not coming to the table with a clear mind, heart, body, soul, and spirit, and money. Gotta say it. Gotta say it. Like I said, I'm not talking about anyone in particular because I'm not close enough to anybody to know anybody. Like, I'm not that deep with anybody. But the results speak for themselves in a lot of ways. in across sectors. And I want people to feel safe to begin to work on evolving out of that drug addiction way of burning the midnight oil and burning the candle at both ends. Because guess what? Nothing functions right that way, folks. And it's a problem. And your business is not going to thrive. Your home and your family's not going to thrive. Eventually, the cards will fall. And I don't want to see that for El Paso. I would like to change that, because that's all it is. And I think that's more of what it is than we realize. I think the solutions are much more simple than we give them credit for, but we have to address them, and we have to make space for the conversations, that we have to create safe spaces for people to come and be and do the healing process. And it doesn't look linear, and it's not all about all abstinence. It's not about quitting cold turkey and abstinence hard, white knuckling it. That's why I love this peer. This is, God knows what he's doing. That's why I love the harm reduction specialist, peer recovery specialist, because as a peer recovery specialist, I'm saying I get to help the person walk through their desire to heal and to use less. We could start at using less, and not just, it's either all or nothing. Like you're either good at this or you're bad at this. That's not good. And that's not how my recovery happened. I'm just going to be frank with you. It was not just like today I'm on drugs, hard drugs and alcohol. And tomorrow yesterday I was on drugs and alcohol, hardcore ones. And then today I'm not. That's not how my recovery looked at all. And I'm grateful that I had a space to be honest in myself, with others, and to take it one day at a time in my way. But for me, the AA way was just it just wasn't gonna work. It just was not my method, but a more realistic method of helping people to not feel shame or a certain pride in how many days you haven't used, but more so because even with AA, you can't even drink. And I'm like, I don't have a drinking problem. Like literally, if I drink 2 drinks, I am good. And not only am I good, I already don't feel good the next day. And I like feeling good the next day because I like the life I live now. And I like the possibilities in life. You know what I mean? I drank last week. And was it last week or the week before? No, was it last week? Dang, wait, was it last week? Damn, the time just is flying, y'all. No, it was the week before. I drank the week before, and it took me like 2 days to recover, man. I hated that. I had fun, but I felt it the next few days. And now I can recognize and be like, oh, I feel depressed or sluggish, or, I'm lazy because of because I drank a couple drinks, and literally a couple drinks. But I don't like it, which is fantastic that I've gotten to, to that place. Because before I could never imagine going days without drinking, because drinking was just normal. Drinking and partying was just normal in my family. And so these are all habits and generational things that you break along the way. And, but you can't break them until you acknowledge them. And sometimes it's just not that easy to go from 1,000 to 0. But you should be happy for yourself every time you take a step in the right direction. And that's the type of work that I see myself doing. So anyway, so here we are, and again, that was in 2019. And she made such an impact on me that we're still connected. And here I am looking into taking this next step. And trust me, I would not be taking this step if I was still in active addiction like that. Nope. I'd seen that opportunity was there years ago, and I was not ready then. You know what I mean? But because I'm authentic, man. If I'm a lead, I'm gonna be a leader. Like, you know what I mean? Like I'm not on the fake. I just can't be fake. Like being learning as you go and growing is different than, and just making mistakes because you don't know is different than being fake and acting like you have all the answers and you don't, but you're too prideful to actually acknowledge that and to actually ask questions and learn and to do better. We need more do better people. We need more I'm willing to learn and do better people in our communities, period. Um, Last week I met with Lelania at Sunset Parlor, Lelania Marcus. What a breath of fresh air. I'm so excited to be connecting in with the Sunset Parlor and what they have to offer there. Um, and to be around people who care, like who are very conscious of health, creativity, all of it. And I could be my full authentic self and be celebrated and have a place for peace and for growth. I love that. And our conversation was amazing. So you definitely want to go to 5-Star Conversations in the Sun City. It's the very most recent episode that dropped, and it's just talking to her is just awesome. So I'll share some snippets from that also. All right, let's see. What else? Okay, and I'll be talking to Lori Marshall tomorrow, who I'm really excited to share, introduce to you all as well. She has the Singing Tree and Unity Through Creativity, all amazing things. And she has worked with incredible, like the state of El Paso. She's worked with NASA, FEMA. She worked in prisons and schools, just teaching unity through creativity. And she's she herself, taught K through 12. And, so understanding that process of teaching and group work and connection, collaboration, and she brings that through music. And the Singing Tree, which is actually, she brings it through visual art, the Singing Tree. And I'm just excited to share her perspective and how she's worked with companies and teams to help them to get in that space of collaboration. And it's been very healing, therapeutic, and what's the word I'm looking for? Productive for teams to do, and opens communication in different ways. And so I'm going to wait till she comes and talks about it because I have a lot of questions to ask her that I haven't had a chance to ask her yet. And I'm super excited for that conversation that we're going to have here tomorrow. So that's about it. I think I'm going to jump off now. But if you watch this, then you have gotten a deep dive of my mentality, of my mindset. And I'm not, if I don't pick up the phone or if I don't text you back, that's why, because I think I'm just going to leave it off so that I can start mapping out the people that I need to connect with and start just getting out there and making it happen. I believe that, just to wrap it back up, everything happens for a reason. And just coming on here and having this clear conversation on Facebook. Right now we're live streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram all at the same time. And so, which is fantastic that we're able to do that. And, oh, I have some people. I want to thank everybody, all my friends and fam that joined in. We're able to pop in and out. This is kind of where we're at. We got a lot going on. Yeah, a lot of people didn't even realize that I have that my car, my car just got hit again and cracked. But again, it was fixed. It's great. But again, it was just another reminder to slow down and to unburden myself and to just release the things that I just that are not directly going to help me impact make the impact that I want to make in this world. So it's important. It's important that we're very intentional. Um, and that's what's happening. So, also coming up on 5 Star Conversations. So, like I said, tomorrow we're doing the live stream with Lori Marshall um, of creativity through unity. I mean, unity through creativity. And then we have I have a young man that I just met, a freshman in high school, who just created a healthcare app, a tech app, and I'm going to talk to him. I'm so excited to talk to him. His name is Sid. And he reminds me of Thriller Michael Jackson. You'll see. The jokes just write themselves, the serendipitous things, but super impressed and really glad he came to the tech tech trivia that we did with the Medical Center of the Americas and the Microsoft Innovation Hub partnership. They did that, and I emceed it. It was awesome. He came. They found out about it online, and him and his parents came, and I'm like, that's so cool. Because his teacher told him. So it was really cool to just see how people got there. 36 people paid $10 to come. A lot of people were invited by people that we knew. There were some people there that was found out that way. Some people found out about it online, on Instagram, on LinkedIn. So that was super cool to just see social media working, in a way that really attracted the right people. And we had an absolute blast. They are having it again June 25th. So make sure that you follow the Medical Center of the Americas in El Paso, Texas, or my EP Transformed. And you follow them and you'll find out all about their next event coming up. Oh, let's see. And I'm going to have my friend Allison Cheney. I love her so much. Oh my gosh, she is so important in my life. And she's a marketing expert. She really helped me. She's helped me so much to really lock it in and to get clear on my mission and to commit to it. And I love her for that. And I want to have her on so I could share with you all just our friendship and how much I love her and how good she is at what she does. And I mean, and I'm not even full core working with her because I'm still figuring out what exactly that I wanted to, what demographic, who I wanted to make an impact for. And that's not easy. And I want to end with this. It's okay to take a month or 2 or 5 or 6 or 5 years, it's taken me to really get clear on what you are, on what it is that you can lend yourself to, what people can you help that you will be joyful in doing, and that if and when it takes 5-10 years to build that thing and to help those people and for those to be, the types of people, whatever it takes for you to get to that space to where you create something of value, you need to figure out what that is that you want to do, that you'll be able to do for 5 to 10 years, and that you're willing to put in the work, and not this get rich quick scheme that I think this hustle culture, especially since 2020, is jump online, now some people do, and you can get rich quick, and you can make a lot of money online and being an influencer or whatever, but it's not, for me, it's not sustainable. It may not be sustainable. We just don't know. Okay, number 1. And number 2, for me, I've always been the type of person that I did not want to just offer. I didn't want to just be on a surface level type I don't want to be a grifter. Let me just say it. I don't want to be a grifter. I got taken advantage by a lot of grifters in 2020. I'm just going to say it like that. I got taken advantage of certain grifters. I fell prey to the hype. On another level, there were some people that were incredible and that I learned a lot from, but they weren't really, I wasn't really the right client for them. And I was hyper vigilant, and this all had a lot to do with my healing journey too. But I was hyper vigilant that I don't want to just sell somebody something if it's not really what they need. And if they're not in the space to really gain from it. Like, that's just not me. And so I knew that meant that I needed to get really clear on what I wanted to offer to the world and how to go about that. And so I've gotten there now, because caregivers, I see that there's a need. I see there's a need for more structure in that space. I see that there's a need for more people to go receive healthcare, that physical healthcare, that mental, what was I saying? How did I say it? Healthcare is self-care, and mental health is healthcare. You know what I mean? So healthcare, physical healthcare, making sure that you get all your checkups and all that is healthcare. All of that is healthcare, and all of that is self-care. It's not just nails and spa days. Healthcare is self-care. And making sure that your mental health is solid and healthy is healthcare. Like, it's all connected. Like, we don't disconnect. It's not, you can't compartmentalize them. It does you no good to compartmentalize them. That's why I even said, for this season of my life, just at least the next 60 days, I'm giving myself permission for my main thing to be eating healthy and working out, like to make sure that I do those things. Because I do have a job. I'm working at Pelicans, which I love. If I had to work anywhere, it's the perfect place to work in this space and time. I can make a nice chunk of change in a few hours and leave it there, go there, do a great job and leave. I don't have to do anything else outside of that. It's flexible, so that, and I'm taking advantage of this moment that I have to spend time with my mom, to learn Spanish with her, to swim during the day, to regulate my nervous system, to figure out what I can create in the world and move towards that's going to be fulfilling and going to give me the space to grow into the leader that I know I am. So all those things. And they're all important. Honestly, I forgot why I was saying it. Which just means it's time for me to get off now. So thank you so much for listening. I hope that, that you realize, and like, if you're my friend, I appreciate your grace and understanding. If you're really my friend and you ride for me in any type of way, and you've made it this far, I want to thank you for understanding the space I'm in right now. Like, I'm in a very transformative space right now, and I really get to put myself first and my mission first. It's going to help everyone. Everyone is going to benefit from that being the case. And I truly appreciate all of you all who understand, or even if you don't understand, who respect the fact that, like, the time that I'm taking. I do appreciate that. Anyways, I hope that you do the same for yourself. And I hope you realize that I appreciate you and the space that you're taking to take care of yourself. And that's what this is all about. Anyway, stay tuned. Much love. God bless. Keep rising and shining. 5-star Conversations in the Sun Cities. Michelle M. Trey Hollis signing off. Just continue to be in harmony. of sound, mind, body, spirit, soul, and money with the high five to the vibe. Peace and blessings. Rock the rest of your day. Why don't you? Talk to you soon.